Hello. Welcome to Phantom Homicide, Hunting an Internet Killer. Today we're doing a really deep dive into a case that honestly still gives me chills. It's the disturbing story of Junlin's murder, the global chase for Luca Magnotta.
And that whole dark intersection of extreme narcissism and the internet age, it's just a perfect storm.
Exactly. We're looking at the sources, the Netflix series included, obviously, but really focusing on this relentless pursuit of infamy. This crime felt like it was designed for an audience.
Yeah, our mission today is really to unpack all of that. Go beyond the headlines. We need to look at the raw details, the psychological profiles that came out, the legal battles.
And those really difficult ethical questions that just hang over the whole thing, especially when someone seems to want notoriety more than anything else.
Right, we're focusing on the sheer scale of his campaign. It was a calculated campaign for attention that started years, literally years, before John Lynn was ever targeted.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, trace the origins of this whole thing. His identity, even that was a construction, wasn't it?
Oh, completely. He wasn't born Luca Magnotta.
No, he was Eric Clinton Kirk Newman, born 1982, Scarborough, Ontario.
And then in 2006, he legally changed his name to Luca Rocco Magnotta.
6 years before the murder. That feels significant, like the first real conscious step in building this persona.
Absolutely. It's like laying the foundation for the architect of infamy, as you put it. And if you look into the background information we have, the sources paint a picture of pretty severe family dysfunction early on.
Right. I remember reading about the mother's obsession with cleanliness, locking the kids out.
And the father diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia back in '94. He ended up living with his grandmother, Phyllis, after his parents split.
So a really unstable environment. Experts seem to think that played a big role, right?
Yeah.
Contributed to psychiatric issues, maybe an unstable sense of self.
Definitely seems plausible based on the reports. That instability, though, it didn't just stay internal. It kind of merged with, criminality. Calculated criminality.
Yeah, long before the animal videos even. Back in 2005 when he was still Eric Newman.
What was that? The fraud conviction?
Yeah, impersonation and 3 counts of fraud. And it wasn't just minor stuff. He apparently targeted a mentally disabled young woman.
Oh, right. Convinced her to get credit cards.
And then used them himself. Racked up over $10,000 in debt at places like Sears, the Brick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's predatory.
It is. And when he pleaded guilty, he got a conditional sentence. The court even noted significant psychiatric issues back then.
But see, that fraud, it shows something else too, doesn't it? It shows a capacity for organized deception, manipulation. It wasn't just random impulse.
Good point. The drive for control, for getting what he wanted, it was already there.
And when the more legitimate paths to, status or fame didn't work out.
Which they didn't. He tried a lot of things, didn't he? Escort work, modeling.
Stripping, some porn acting, though. Those sources say his work was anything but prolific. Very telling phrase.
Yeah. And he declared bankruptcy in 2007, owed about $17,000. So the glamorous life wasn't happening.
No. He was literally auditioning for fame. Reality TV attempts, too, right?
Cover Guy in 2007, auditioned for Plastic Makes Perfect in 2008. Both unsuccessful.
So when the conventional stage wouldn't have him, he decided to build his own stage online, a much darker one.
And that's when the whole manufacturing of his own myth really took off. The scale is just wild. Police found what? At least 70 Facebook pages?
70. And 20 websites. All under different names. Vladimir Romanov, Mattia Del Santo, Angel.
Jimmy. Just churning out this content, using these fake accounts to, praise himself?
Yeah, literally sing his own praises, as one source put it, calling himself the new James Dean. Or he'd spread completely false, outrageous rumors about himself.
Right, just to get attention.
Seems like it. Spread a rumor, then deny it publicly, get media hits. He was actively manipulating his own Google search results, trying to shape this image of Luca Magnotta as this mysterious, maybe dangerous figure.
And one of the weirdest, most cynical examples of that was the Karla Homolka hoax.
Oh, yeah. 2007. He planted the rumor that he was dating Karla Homolka.
Who, for anyone listening who doesn't know, was half of one of Canada's most notorious serial killer couples.
Exactly. And think about that choice. He wasn't just seeking any attention. He was deliberately linking himself to extreme infamy, to murderers.
So when the Toronto Sun actually interviewed him so he could deny the rumor,
the reporter apparently found him troubled and basically figured out he'd probably started the rumor himself.
The sources suggest he saw people like Homolka and Paul Bernardo as, dark role models. It's chilling. That calculation was there years before the violence escalated.
He'd set the agenda. Fame, even infamy was the goal. And then came the digital escalation. The animal cruelty.
2010, that first video, one boy, two kittens. I mean, the description alone, suffocating kittens in a vacuum bag.
Horrific. And that's what got him the name the vacuum kitten killer. That's when the internet really started paying attention.
And it wasn't just one video, was it?
No. The sources show a clear escalation. A second video showed him drowning a cat. A third feeding a live cat to a python.
Just testing boundaries, seeing how far he could push it, what reaction he'd get.
Seems like it. Pushing sadism into the public eye. Commanding an audience through shock.
There was that detail, too, about the second pair of hands in the first kitten video. The internet investigators picked up on that right away.
Yeah, that question always lingered. Was someone else involved? A collaborator?
What was the theory? Something about the snake.
The main speculation was that the second person might have owned the large python in the third video. Maybe they were there because the snake was too big or dangerous for Magnotta to handle alone.
Which, if true, suggests he needed or wanted a witness, maybe even a participant, right from the start.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the act itself. It was always conceived as a performance, a spectacle for others.
Okay, so if we're following this path from, like, building the persona to digital cruelty, the next phase seems to be the internet mobilizing against him.
Right, the crowdsourced justice element. After that first kitten video dropped in 2010, the Facebook group For Great Justice popped up.
And it grew incredibly fast, didn't it? Like 3,000 members in just a couple of days.
Yeah, an explosion. People were horrified. And they wanted to find this guy. They actually identified him as Luca Magnotta from Canada pretty quickly.
But the sheer amount of information, tips, data coming in, it must have been overwhelming.
Totally. Which led to the creation of the Animal Beta Project, the ABP. A smaller core group, maybe 15 people or so, trying to sort through this digital avalanche.
But they were always playing catch-up, right? The sources said they felt like they were 5 years behind him with all his fake profiles and constant changes.
He was a digital ghost. And so good at it that he actually managed to infiltrate their group.
Wait, he got inside the group hunting him?
Multiple times, yeah. Using fake profiles, it's incredibly unnerving.
What did they do? Did they know it was him?
Sometimes they suspected. The sources mentioned their policy was debated. Sometimes they'd kick the suspected profile out. Other times they'd actually engage with him.
Engage with him? Wow.
Hoping to get new information, maybe. Or, kind of unbelievably, trying to tell him to get help.
Wow. So he's getting real-time feedback from the people chasing him. It's like the hunt itself was part of the performance for him.
It seems that way. He wasn't just performing for a general audience. He was performing specifically for his pursuers.
And that interaction, it might have even included those tip-offs they got, like that anonymous message.
The one saying, Luca Magnotta is who you're looking for.
Yeah. That was a huge lead for them, obviously, but who sent it?
Well, the suspicion among many in the group, looking back, was that Magnotta sent it himself.
Why would he do that? Risk exposing himself?
Maybe the ultimate narcissistic move, confirming his identity to make sure the chase intensified. He needed to be hunted. The pursuit itself was the validation, maybe more than staying hidden.
So the online community, they gather all this info, they realize who he is, the danger he poses, what next. They tried to warn the authorities, right?
They did. They reported him, specifically warning that the animal cruelty was likely a precursor to violence against humans, a known psychological indicator.
And did the police take it seriously?
The sources confirmed Toronto police started an investigation in February 2011. They contacted the OSPCA, the RSPCA over in Britain, the FBI, even Montreal police. There was coordination happening.
Okay, so if police were alerted back in early 2011, they knew about the escalating animal abuse, the warnings about human targets. Why wasn't more done to stop him before May 2012?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources suggest coordination was happening, but Magnotta was just incredibly slippery, constantly moving, changing identities online and off. Maybe the system was too slow, or maybe there was still skepticism because up to that point, the known victims were only animals.
That time lag, it proved fatal. Because we know the next step was coming, the promotion for the human murder video.
Yeah, materials referencing One Lunatic, One Ice Pick appeared online about 10 days before Jin Lin was actually killed. He was advertising it, announcing his next act.
And that act itself, the murder, it was drenched in these weird pop culture references. The film Basic Instinct.
Allegedly a major inspiration. It wasn't just random. He seemed to be trying to make the crime fit a pre-existing, almost cinematic narrative.
Prosecutors really hammered this point at the trial. They said the screwdriver used to stab Jun Lin, which was black, had been painted silver
to mimic the ice pick from the movie's famous murder scene.
Yeah. And the alias he used later in Karis, Kirk Trammell.
A mix of his own middle name, Kirk, and Catherine Trammell, the killer character from the film.
He even tried to blame the murder on a fictional persona named Manny.
After Trammell's fiancée in the movie, Manny Vasquez. It all points to this constructed, performative fantasy he was living out.
And weaving through all this, the role of his mother. The sources suggest she was a significant enabler.
Yeah, the analysis points to her potentially helping him develop into this sociopathic narcissist, always believing that nothing was his fault, that kind of environment.
It's damaging. And the detail about her knowing about the kittens.
Knowing he had vacuum-sealed live kittens and not reporting him, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the lack of accountability, the lack of boundaries that allowed his pathology to just grow unchecked.
Which brings us, tragically, to the ultimate victim in all this, Junlin.
Yeah. He was just 33, an international student from Wuhan, China, came to Montreal in 2010 to study computer engineering at Concordia University, just trying to build a life.
People described him as kind, hardworking. His personal life sounds like it was complicated, though.
The sources mentioned he was gay, had recently divorced a woman back in China, apparently partly due to family pressure to marry and settle down.
And he was meeting men through apps like Grindr in Montreal after a recent breakup, so maybe in a vulnerable place when he encountered Magnotta.
Seems likely. The last sighting of him alive was on surveillance footage, May 24, 2012, entering Magnotta's apartment building on DeCarey Boulevard with him.
Magnotta's story was that they met through a Craigslist ad for sex and bondage.
That's what he claimed. And within hours, or maybe the next day, May 24th or 25th, Junlin was murdered in that apartment. Stabbed, throat slit. Brutal.
And the horror didn't end there. Magnotta immediately turned it into his ultimate spectacle.
Instantly. Hours later, that 11-minute video, One Lunatic, One Ice Pick, was uploaded to shock websites bestgore.com, the YNC, places known for extreme content.
The video itself, it was engineered for maximum repulsion, wasn't it? Necrophilia, dismemberment.
With a knife and fork specifically mentioned. And that image of the dog chewing on the body. Just layers of degradation and horror.
Authorities apparently found an even longer version later, suggesting cannibalism. Sources suggest the extended footage indicated cannibalism might have occurred. It's almost impossible to comprehend the level of depravity.
And every detail in that video seemed like a clue or a taunt, the music.
New Order's True Faith. The Casablanca poster visible in the background.
Him wearing a Santa hat, playing John Lennon songs Happy Xmas Imagine, the possible link to Mark David Chapman, another killer seeking fame. Right. And even wearing Junlin's own shirt during the filming. It's all part of the performance, embedding these references for people to find and talk about, feeding his narcissism.
But here's a really crucial, chilling detail that came out later. The video didn't actually show the killing itself.
No. Investigators determined Junlin was already deceased when the mutilation part of the video began. It wasn't a live snuff film, despite how it was presented. It was a post-mortem performance staged for the camera.
And even more disturbingly, that man seen tied up and writhing in the early part of the video.
That wasn't Junlin. It was another man who had visited Magnotta earlier and, thankfully, had not been murdered.
So he spliced footage together, combined the humiliation of a living person with the desecration of a dead one.
Exactly. To create a more shocking, misleading narrative, engineering the truth for maximum impact and deception.
When the police finally got into the apartment, the scene must have been grim.
Horrific. Blood on the mattress, the fridge, the bathtub. Just evidence of extreme violence.
And that message left inside the closet, in red ink.
If you don't like the reflection, don't look in the mirror. I don't care. Just a final, defiant, narcissistic statement.
The disposal of the body wasn't about hiding the crime either, was it? It was about maximizing the horror, spreading the terror.
Completely calculated. May 29th, just days after the murder, a janitor finds the torso. Decomposing in a suitcase, left in a garbage pile behind the apartment building in Stoughton.
And then the packages started arriving, the body parts mailed across the country.
Just grotesque. A severed left foot sent directly to the Conservative Party headquarters in Ottawa.
Stained with blood, foul smell, marked with a red heart symbol. So theatrical.
Then a severed left hand, intercepted, addressed to the Liberal Party, spreading the reach.
But it went beyond political targets, didn't it? The packages sent to Vancouver.
To schools. A right foot and a right hand. Delivered to St. George's School and False Creek Elementary, targeting children's spaces for maximum psychological impact. It's monstrous.
And the notes included pure taunting, that poem.
Roses are red, violets are blue. The police will need dental records to identify you, bitch. Sent to the schools. Just vile.
And another note warning more parts were out there, 6 in total, and threatening to kill again.
It took until July 1st, 2012, for the final piece, Lynn's head, to be found at the edge of a lake in Angrignon Park in Montreal, after an anonymous tip.
While all this horror is unfolding in Canada, Magnotta himself was long gone.
He booked a flight to Paris literally hours after the murder. Used his own passport, interestingly.
Interpol issued a red notice immediately. His face was everywhere.
They tracked him to a hotel in Bagnolet, a suburb of Paris. He'd used that fake passport name, Kirk Trammell, again, the Basic Instinct reference.
And his capture, it's almost the perfect dark punchline to his whole narrative, isn't it?
It really is. June 4th, 2012, Berlin police find him. Where? In an internet cafe in the Neukölln district.
Doing what?
Reading online news articles about himself, consuming the spectacle he created.
He initially gave fake names, but then admitted who he was.
That moment says everything about his motivation, doesn't it? Risking freedom, sitting exposed in public, just to see his name, his crime, reflected back at him online. Notoriety over safety. Every single time.
Extradition was fast, right? Because of the profile of the case.
Yeah, flown back on a Royal Canadian Air Force plane due to safety and legal concerns. His flight, the planning, the capture, while reading about himself, it all built the prosecution's case that this was absolutely premeditated, driven by that pathological need for fame.
So the trial finally starts, September 2014, and it really becomes this clash of psychological interpretations.
Right. He's facing 5 charges. First-degree murder, obviously, but also criminally harassing the Prime Minister and MPs because of those mailed body parts.
And his plea, not guilty.
But not denying the acts themselves. His defense was entirely based on diminished responsibility, claiming he had severe mental disorders, was in a psychotic state during the crime, couldn't tell right from wrong.
The defense experts brought up his history, didn't they? Diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia as a teenager.
Yeah, they leaned heavily on that. One expert mentioned episodic schizophrenia, but also layered on things like histrionic personality disorder, borderline traits, paraphilia, basically painting a picture of someone whose mind was so fractured they couldn't form intent.
So the argument was too mentally ill to have planned it.
Exactly. But the prosecution, they came back hard against that. Their whole case rested on proving it was organized, calculated, premeditated.
How did they argue that?
They pointed to all the evidence of planning. Buying the specific tools, setting up the camera equipment beforehand, using those carefully chosen aliases like Kirk Trammell, and his immediate complex escape plan flying internationally. That doesn't sound like someone lost in psychosis, they argued.
And the prosecution had their own psychological experts, countering the schizophrenia diagnosis.
Critically, yes. They argued Magnotta might actually have been mimicking schizophrenia symptoms, learning about them over years of medical interactions and online research, using them manipulatively.
Which would fit with the narcissism and manipulation we saw earlier.
Precisely. The Crown's experts diagnosed him instead with a cluster of personality disorders. Borderline personality disorder, BPD, strong histrionic features, antisocial personality disorder, and crucially, narcissistic personality disorder, NPD.
And legally, that's a huge difference, right? Schizophrenia might negate responsibility, but personality disorders.
Generally, no. The prosecution argued that someone with BPD and NPD, even if mentally ill, could still plan, deliberate, understand consequences, and act with intent. And the intent here, they argued, was clear: achieve notoriety. His actions before, during, and after the crime all pointed to that organized, goal-directed behavior.
So the jury had to weigh these two competing psychological narratives. How long did they deliberate?
8 days. Which tells you it wasn't a simple decision for them.
But the verdict, when it came in December 2014.
Guilty on all 5 counts. Life sentence, no parole eligibility for 25 years.
What's the legal takeaway from that?
It's a significant precedent, really. The verdict essentially said that the overwhelming evidence of premeditation, the planning, the performance, the flight, was strong enough to override the defense of diminished responsibility due to mental disorder. His capacity to organize the crime for attention proved his culpability.
After the trial, the focus shifted back, hopefully, to the victim, June Lin.
His family came to Montreal for the trial. The whole horrific event really shook the Chinese community, both in Canada and internationally, raised serious concerns about the safety of international students.
Institutions try to respond positively, right? A fund for his family, an award in his name at Concordia.
Yes, efforts to remember June Lin for his life, not just the way it ended, to reclaim some dignity from the horror.
Although, controversially, the media didn't always help with that, did it? Naming Magnotta the Canadian Newsmaker of the Year in 2012.
Yeah, that was problematic, to say the least. It inadvertently gave him exactly the validation he seemed to crave. And the ripple effects continue. The owner of that website, bestscore.com, Mark Merrick.
He faced charges, too.
Charged in Edmonton with corrupting public morals for hosting the murder video. Got a 6-month conditional sentence. The spectacle implicated many people.
Okay, we can't really talk about this case without talking about how it was documented, especially that big Netflix series. And our sources, they had a lot to say about the documentary itself, starting with the title.
Oh, yeah. Don't F with cats. Almost universally criticized in the analysis we looked at, called a poor name choice, the Shawshank Redemption of docu-titles.
Why so harsh?
Because it completely failed to signal what the series was actually about. Human murder, dismemberment, necrophilia. You'd think it was satire or just about, mean cats.
So people went in blind. And the clickbait title, the sort of meme-like image Netflix used,
it bothered analysts. They felt it was a deliberate, ethically questionable choice purely to get clicks, and it ended up rattling viewers who had no idea what horrific content they were about to see. A compromise right from the start.
And then there was the way the documentary presented the investigation, those aha moments.
Critics found some of them hilariously obvious and felt they were oversold. Identifying the brand of cigarettes, the Casablanca poster, the Basic Instinct link, these weren't exactly hidden clues.
So the suggestion is the documentary might have been structured more to make the amateur sleuths look like heroes, rather than just presenting the facts plainly.
That was definitely a criticism raised, maybe prioritizing narrative drama over strict journalistic rigor.
There were even questions about the footage Magnotta supposedly uploaded, weren't there? Some of it looked too clean.
Yeah, particularly a casino video. Given the typical phone camera quality back in 2012, some analysts wondered if it might have been recent footage or even staged. It just raises questions about authenticity versus manufactured spectacle in true crime.
Which leads us to the biggest ethical minefield the sources identified. That ending, where the documentary essentially turns on the audience.
Accusing the viewers, accusing us, basically of being complicit just by watching the series.
How did the critics react to that?
Not well. They called it absurd. Pure hypocrisy. Unsupportable.
Why hypocrisy?
Because the filmmakers themselves made a massively popular multi-part series for Netflix, presumably for profit. They argued the filmmakers were the ones reigniting Luca's notoriety, feeding the very culture of death obsession they seem to be condemning.
So the argument is they can't really claim the moral high ground to judge the audience when they created the platform for the spectacle.
Exactly. Especially given some of their other choices, like filming the reactions of the sleuths.
Right, showing Deanna Thompson sobbing while watching the videos.
Analysts pointed out that technique puts the viewer in a really uncomfortable position, almost like the audience on those shark sites Magnotta used. You're appalled and thrilled by the spectacle of someone else's reaction to horror. It felt like condemning voyeurism while simultaneously serving it up.
This all comes back to that central question about the internet. Investigators Bowdy, John Green, the whole group. Did they actually help catch him? Or did their intense focus just feed his ego?
That's the core debate. The analysis suggests Magnotta probably didn't care what people thought. The condemnation, the hatred, it was all irrelevant. The attention was the point.
As one investigator put it, 3,000 people searching his name. That pushes you up the rankings.
Right. He wanted the attention. Negative or positive didn't matter. And the global hunt absolutely delivered that.
So the argument is, while those investigators were incredibly dedicated and did uncover a lot, maybe Magnotta was always one step ahead, feeding them the clues he wanted found.
It's a strong possibility. He was ultimately caught reading news about himself, remember? Much what the sleuths found was information Magnotta himself had put out there through his fake profiles, his self-promotion. Some sources felt the doc spent too much time glorifying the chase, when the chase itself might have been exactly the performance Magnotta wanted all along.
So, wrapping this all up, what are the main takeaways from this deep dive? This whole case feels like such a grim warning sign for our digital world.
It really does. One clear lesson is that evil doesn't always wear a scary mask. It can look conventional, even attractive. It can quote movies and obsessively manage its online image while doing the unthinkable.
And the link between animal cruelty and human violence? It's undeniable here, isn't it?
Absolutely. Magnotta's path from the vacuum kitten killer to Jean Lynn's murder is a textbook example. It just hammers home how crucial it is to take animal abuse seriously as a major red flag, a potential precursor to worse violence. We need better systems to intervene earlier.
And his whole journey, the self-promotion, the aliases, the flight, culminating in him being caught reading about himself.
It perfectly illustrates that core narcissistic drive. Being known, even if it meant being hated, was more important than anything, more important than freedom, safety, or certainly the life of his victim.
Which leaves us wrestling with that huge ethical question, the one that hangs over this case and the documentary.
Yeah.
How do we even talk about these crimes?
How do we cover them, analyze them, try to understand them, without just handing the perpetrator the exact notoriety they were killing for? When the crime itself is designed as spectacle, the media, even as doing this analysis, risk becoming unwilling collaborators.
It's a really tough line to walk.
And maybe the final chilling thought is about how the digital age itself cultivates this kind of spectacle. The audience is always there, always watching. And the very act of hunting the killer online, even with the best intentions, can inadvertently provide the global stage that someone like Magnotta craves. The chase becomes part of the show, fulfilling his need for infamy and trapping us, the audience, in this morally ambiguous loop.
Okay, so we hope you liked our today's discussion. For more such discussions, subscribe to our channel, Phantom Homicide.